considering and reflecting on God's Word and how God's Word applies to our lives, which is kind of what we've been doing, and specifically in the last 3 or 4 weeks as we have been listening to the prophets who have been speaking to a people who have been exiled. They're living as outsiders in a foreign land and having lost everything that they had when they were torn from their homes and their businesses and their farms and sent to this foreign land. They don't have much to look forward to. We know, and looking back in history, that their exile ends, but they do not know that this is going to happen or if it ever will. And so the prophets that we've been talking about up to this point have been talking to a people who are in need of hope. They're in exile and they have been giving them words of hope that God has not abandoned them. God is still surrounding them. We take a little shift today as we continue our Advent move forward toward God coming to us as Jesus Christ. In this 55th chapter of Isaiah is prophet as well. But at this point, the timeline changes a little bit. The people that Isaiah is speaking to or writing to are people who they're out of exile and they're either back in their homes or they're on their way back. They're somewhere in that time frame. They've either just gotten back or they're trying to get back there. But they are in expectation as well. They've been gone 70 years. That's how long the Babylonian exile, they call it sometimes. That's how long the exile lasted. 70 years, and they are on their way back or have just gotten back. And I wonder what that looks like for them, to come back after 70 years. My wife Laura and I are this old house kind of people. The house we had in Omaha was, I think it was 90 years old when we moved to Raymond. And the house we live in now was built in 1923, so 94 years old. We like the old houses, and we like the restoration aspects of doing that. And as I work with this 90-year-old wood trim, 94-year-old wood trim, it really makes me wonder what was it like for the craftsmen that put that together. As I cleaned the 94 years of finish and cleaning solvents and build-up grind, whatever, as I cleaned that up to get to the bare wood that has not seen the light of day for 94 years in that sense, what was it like back then? Would the original builders of the home that we live in now, would they even recognize it? Would it look the same as it did then? And I suspect not. Many things have changed in the intervening 94 years that our house has been in existence. And I think the same thing probably applies to the people who were coming back from exile. Because after all, they've been gone 70 years. Look at lifespans in that time period of history. And the people who left in exile are not the same people who are coming back. It's their kids and grandkids of the people who were torn. And so there's no generational continuity here to their prospects of what they are seeing and what they're doing. So after 70 years of someone else living in their homes and running their businesses and farming their land, what does it look like for a people returning who don't have anything? They have no money, they have no possessions, they've got nothing, and here they are. Isaiah is pretty straightforward when he gives them a hand with this. He starts off in verse 1. Ho, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you that have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price. I'm going to take a little side trip here for just a second on the ancient Greek language that they used. And that first word in the reading, ho, what does that mean? It doesn't translate well. It's the same word in Greek and English. Either way, the word is ho. And it doesn't have a meaning to translate. It's more of a feeling. It's translating the feeling of like, hey there. And in fact, I think the Message translation, that's exactly what it uses, is hey there. And so Isaiah is kind of saying that to them. Now, and I think it works out the same way. This is a little bizarre, but I think it works out the same way as Santa uses it. When Santa says, ho, 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 so what are you saying? Hey there, hey there, hey there. Now, there's something you didn't know, so you can take that with you all the way up to Christmas and you can enjoy it. And when you get those Christmas stories, think about that. Hey there. And now back to our regularly scheduled sermon. The people are returning from exile. And they literally have nothing. They are thirsty and they have no money. They are hungry. They are not in a good situation. And it's also the case, metaphorically, that they find themselves in the same kind of situation. They are physically, they are broken down. And emotionally, they are having a tough time. And spiritually, they are dry. They're in a place of feeling like they are a pile of dry bones, bleached out in the noonday sun, dried up and washed out, chewed up and cast to the side. But things have changed. They're on their way back to their homes. So hope begins to emerge a little bit. But not just yet. Not yet. They have a couple of challenges in front of them. And so it is that Isaiah gives them some pointers. It's perhaps not quite as joyous as a kid being let loose in a candy store for the first time with infinite money and unsupervised activities. But it's similar to that. They don't know what the rules are because there aren't any anymore. And they find themselves trying to figure out how all this is going to work out. How do we know how to act when we find ourselves in a new situation, a situation that we haven't been in before? Ordinarily, we rely on some sort of continuity from the generations. You could call it tradition, perhaps. Those things that we have seen in our parents and teachers, grandpas and grandmas, other caring adults have shown us through the years how to navigate a given situation. But now those people aren't there and they're in a new situation entirely. So what do we do when we're in that situation? You know, that situation when you're in your first apartment, that first weekend after you've left the home, or that first weekend when you get to college, or that first weekend you find yourself on liberty, on leave, in the military. What do you do? How do you act? Isaiah helps them out with this. Jumps to verse 6 and 7. Isaiah tells them to seek God. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their way, and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them return to the Lord, that he may have mercy on them, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Let the wicked and unrighteous, that's us, by the way, and to be crystal clear. Let the wicked and the unrighteous forsake the way we do things on our terms, and instead return to the Lord, and the Lord will have mercy on us. And, did you hear the last two words? Abundantly pardon us. Abundantly pardon. In and around all the busy stuff that we get ourselves into this time of year, it's easy to fall back into those habits of doing things on our terms and doing things the way we do things. Why should we bother doing it the way God describes? Well, that's where we land in verse 8 in today's reading. God's thoughts are not our thoughts, nor are God's ways our ways. And thank God for that. And I mean that. Thank God for that. Think about the last week and all of your thoughts. Think about the last week and all of your ways. And what would it look like if that was God's thoughts and God's ways? We'd be in that same train wreck situation of the first weekend after you move out of your parents' house, that first weekend in college, that first weekend liberty in the military. Fortunately, and thank God, God's got a better idea of how to make things happen. We take all that we have learned when we find ourselves in a new situation. We take all that we have learned. All the things that we continue to learn when we read the Bible, when we hear the sermons, when we go to faith formation activities, go to Bible studies. We take all those things that we have learned over the years and we apply them to a new situation. And we do that because the things that God has taught us, all those rules, we were talking about in the children's sermon, and we've talked about in the small catechism series earlier this fall with the Ten Commandments and just, all those rules that God has set up. Those rules are not set up to make God happy through our obedience. Those rules are set up to give us a framework that we can trust to live in, no matter what the situation. All for the purpose of giving us a little help when we don't know what to do. For all those times that we find ourselves in the candy store and we need a little supervision, a little help, and a little direction to keep us safe and give us hope. Thanks be to God. Amen. I invite you to please stand as you are comfortable and able. We'll continue worship and song.